Okay.
Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Great. So feel free to ask any questions while I'm running through this. It's pretty informal, so we only have two people on. So if you have any questions, feel free to chime in and ask away. Um, First off, I wanted to thank you for being interested in this competition. This is the second year that we're doing it after a successful one last year, and it's pretty cool to be able to offer this to have people be able to have their artwork installed permanently as Mosaic. Uh, so the first thing I did was download the package from the email, the DNG underscore Mac, since I'm using a Mac. And then within that package are a few different files. So the first one being the sort of the design guidelines and the there it is, design guidelines, some links to download the packages if you haven't already, some explanation of what files are included in the folder, which I'm going over right now, and how to create your artwork. So I'll be walking through this a little bit more in depth on how to use the software, and then how to export it and all. So, and then the last file here is the Tessera Grid software, which is our software that Artaic developed. So I went ahead and before this double clicked and installed the package, and it installed the software onto my computer. So I'll open that up right now. And then some of the other files are the location image 1 and 2. Those are PNG files that give you a sense of the space that this is being installed into. It's kind of a blank slate right now. They're in the process of fixing it up. There's some bold typography. But it's a pretty empty space, and this mosaic will surely be the showpiece of the space. It's in the Innovation District on Dry Dock Avenue in Boston. So think about that when designing the artwork. I'll get into these sample editing palette and sample suggested palette and sample worksheet in a little bit, but first I'm going to open the template.psd. So I'll open that into Photoshop. If you don't have, do you all have Photoshop?
Yes.
Okay, great. So we'll open that into Photoshop. So this is the wall that we're designing for, with the door, and this line indicates the bend in the wall. So this is this exact scale of the mosaic. So we're going to create our artwork within this file, and we can use this overlay to see how our artwork falls within the door and everything. So I'm going to open up a painting I did not too long ago. It doesn't really fit the sort of design of the space, but I thought the colors were nice, and the colors would work well for the space. So I'm just going to copy this painting and then paste it into this template.psd file. So there's my cow painting, and I can arrange it on the wall to see how it falls in the space. Make sure it's arranged nicely with all the elements in the space. So I don't really want to be slicing an eye in half with the curve of the wall, or having important parts of it behind the door. Really incorporate it into the architecture of the space. So let me adjust that a little bit. I'll just do this. space a little bit. There we go. And then once I get it to a good place, I think the artwork is ready to be turned into Mosaic. I will hide the wall features overlay, so it's just the clean artwork, and then do File, Save As, and then save it as a JPEG. And I'll call it cow. So I saved it into the folder, the download folder. So here it is. And now I'll go into the Tessera software that I opened up, go to New Project, find that image that I just saved out, and open it in the software. So there's my cow. And then I want to first do the mosaic size. So the size is, the aspect ratio should be locked because the template has the proper aspect ratio for the space, which is, I think, 243 inches. Let's see that. 243 inches wide. So I will type that into here, 243 inches. And then the height adjusts to about 10 feet. And the width adjusts down slightly because it's based on the size of the tiles. So it'll fit perfectly into the space, only 0.07 inches to spare. And then I can click over to the output, and there's my cow. It's not looking too good right now, but this is actual tile in this mosaic right now. It's kind of funky, actually. But now I can go into the other tools here on the right panel. I can go and adjust some rendering styles. We developed a couple different algorithms on how it matches the tiles to the input image. So these two give us a bit of a sharper image, and then this is the standard image. And then we developed this dither algorithm that intersperses light colors to make a smoother gradients. So as you can see, the background right now is kind of these splotches of color. If we add some dither to it, it kind of intersperses those colors to make it a little more artistic, a little more impressionistic. So I don't like all this green coming up on my cow's face. So I can go now into the color palette, or the tile palette. Right now we only have the tiles that we pre-selected for this space within the software. So we took out a few colors that wouldn't really go with the space, and left with a bunch of options, but not necessarily the full palette. So I can actually go in now and remove some of these greens that I don't want coming out in my cow. So I can select exactly the colors I want within the mosaic. So that really cleaned up the face. So I have a lot of control over the color palette here. Right now it's using 37 colors. I'd like to limit it down to 35. Usually depending on the artwork, the software can end up using all the colors in the palette, which make for kind of a muddy image. So it really helps to refine the palette down to a nice palette to create a sharper, more refined design. And once I'm done with that, I can also go into the input settings and adjust the brightness and contrast. And this adjusts the colors that are being selected. And then I can also adjust the hue and saturation. So I can really push and pull this design, really do some funky stuff with my painting. Then once I get it to a place where I think it'll be good, I can go to File, Export, name it, cow, project ID I can leave blank, and then save it to my desktop, and then I'll save all these files. In the instructions, it tells you to save it as a 6,000 pixel wide JPEG for the upload. And I'll show you the rest of these. So it's creating the mosaic now. One thing I forgot to mention before exporting it, you should also take a look at the different grout colors. If the spinning wheel would stop. So Bostik is one of the sponsors of the competition, and they'll be donating the grout for the installation. So, grout really affects the look of the final mosaic. If you have a real light mosaic, it's good to go with a lighter grout. That way, it doesn't really compete with the design. You tend to want to find a nice medium color that fits most of the kind of an average color of the design. That way, your imagery and your tiles take the focus and not the grout. So if I did the black onyx, you can see these grout lines pretty significantly. Or if I go with the real light, then you can see those pretty significantly in the darker areas. So I want to go with the nice sort of medium gray. And then we also have some editing tools up here that we can really refine the design. So if I click on this box with the red line through it, I can choose, select from the palette different colored tiles, and then select this tool, the pencil tool, and I can actually paint or draw with specific tiles. So I can really refine the design. Say if I don't like these brown little speckles here, I can select a color. Oops. I'll select it with the eyedropper. Select this color, and then use the pencil tool to use that color. And remove those brown speckles. So one way is doing all that refinement within the software. Another way is with the files I saved. Where is it? Cow folder. I can open up the cow worksheet into Photoshop. And then I can also open up either the one I exported, which shows the palette that I used, the editing palette. This shows the image of the tile next to the RGB value. Or I can go into the folder I downloaded initially, and it has the full palette, the sample editing palette, and the sample suggested palette. So the sample editing palette is the full palette. The sample suggested palette is the palette that is in the submission guidelines right here. This shows what we went through with the architect of the space and picked out what colors really go with the Mass Challenge brand. So these are the brand colors of Mass Challenge. So we suggest that you really focus the design around these primary colors and do pops of these secondary colors.
Are there, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
The glass versus the metallic or the opalescent, where do they fit into the parameters? Selection ability.
Yeah, so actually we have the metallic tiles here and the regular ones here. So when you load up the image, it will select the best fit depending. It doesn't matter whether it's metallic or the regular vitreous glass. So right now my design's using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 metallic, and then the rest of the 30 are the regular vitreous. So we can select from the metallic if we want, and do the editing there, or remove all the metallics out of the design. So
okay. And in this one, we won't use the opalescent?
No opalescence in this one.
Okay. So are the colors that show up in the palette influenced by your artwork?
No, the palette is the full palette that you can use for this contest.
Okay.
So we removed a few.
And so that's prepackaged up in the download version of the Tessera Grid software that's pre-populated with those the colors, the palettes.
Exactly.
Okay. All right.
And if you have more of those tiles in there for some reason, then you can use the sample editing palette to see all the pre-populated tiles, which is a significant amount.
Oh yeah. No. So we can use any of those colors in either glass or metallic.
Yeah. Well, this is the list, the full list. So if I open this up into Photoshop, you can see that these are the glass ones starting out, and then it goes into the metallic ones that are available.
Oh. Okay. So this is the full list. Okay.
Right. So it's actually not some of our tiles have a different finish to them. That our sintered glass tile has a regular, an opalescent, and a metallic and a matte finish, and all the colors are available in the 3 finishes. This tile type is a little different. It has specific metallic tiles and specific opalescent tiles, and they actually don't match up with the regular ones.
Okay, but if we use this particular image, those are all the tiles we can pick from.
Correct.
For this project. Okay.
Correct. And then there's also the sample suggested palette, which are the ones that I just showed in that document. These are the brand focused colors of Mass Challenge. So it's slimmed down from what is available. This is what's suggested.
Okay.
Which I guess I'm not really following those guidelines. I'm using a lot of purple.
Now, is there a way to? I'm not a Photoshop maestro, but so is there a way to when I'm working on my image in Photoshop to sort of force it to use those palettes somehow? Does that make sense?
Yeah, there is a way, but it's there's a lot of steps to take to get through to actually do that and create it's kind of creating a different color space, which I could send you some instructions offline. It's a little difficult though.
I'm wondering. Well, probably if I knew what direction to head in, I could probably figure it out. Okay.
But
Well,
you can also, if you're creating the design in Photoshop, you can select the colors from this palette that we gave you, and then you can use those to affect the image.
yeah.
You can
Uh,
also, do.
I'm kind of creating mine in a 3D modeling and rendering. So I guess it would be picking materials that, and lights that, make those. Um, and so then I was wondering if there's like a way to sort of push it more. So if, my rendered image, my 3D rendered image is using a different shade of green. How do I like sort of map it to the shades of green that are in the tiles?
Right. Well,
Instead of it like going off, oh, I think I'll interpret this as purple.
right. Well, if it does the best. If it is a green, it will match it to green. It won't match it to purple. Um,
Okay.
it added the green into the cow because there's some of these
Oh yeah,
yellow
because it is
elements.
kind of green. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it does a pretty good first shot of it, and you can always do the adjust the input settings, the hue and saturation, so you can step this a little bit. If you're
Okay.
getting a little bit of different greens in there, or you can slide it
Okay.
into. You could do one at a time, so you could take tiny steps to see until it gets the nice gradient that you want.
Okay. Uh-huh.
So so I was going over the worksheet file. So the worksheet that I exported, the cow mosaic worksheet. So these are the files that get exported. There's the cow mosaic, which eventually will be the design I will upload to the website. There's the palette that's being used within the mosaic. These are the colors I am using with the cow. That's just for reference. That doesn't need to be uploaded anywhere. And then there's these editing palettes that I went over. And then the worksheet palette, or worksheet file that I will go over in a little bit. And then this .tes file. So this is like our PSD file. So I can load this back into the software, and it'll recognize all the adjustments I made to get it to this point. So once I load that up, here, why don't I do that right now? I go to File, Load Project, and then open that up. And then this is it has all my selections that I saved out, has all the adjustments I made to the input, and everything is exactly how I saved it out. So then I have my worksheet file. The worksheet is a RGB representation of my mosaic. So each tile is an actual image, or is an actual RGB pixel. So I can use the tools in Photoshop and do some fine tuning within the software. Photoshop is an extremely powerful tool, and we didn't want to recreate everything into our software. So we decided to leverage the tools of Photoshop. So I can use the pencil tool, which allows me to do a nice pixel by pixel adjustment, which is behind the brush tool. And then I can select the colors here and make those adjustments and fine tuning and make my cow creepy, I guess. One thing that I do often with the worksheets is if there's multiple states of my design that I like, for instance, say I like the background of this one better, but the cow on the other one better. So I can export the worksheet for this one, cow 2, and then use that, bring that into Photoshop, and select this background. And then paste it into my cow worksheet. So now I have the background of the other one, and then the cow of this one.
Cool. That's really nice.
And then I save it out. File save as. And then if I save it as _worksheet.png, change it to .png, remove this copy. So as long as it says _worksheet.png, the software will recognize it as a worksheet file, and it will match pixel per tile. So I'll go into the software now after saving that and say File, New Project. Save current project, no. And then load in that worksheet that I just saved out. And then it recognizes my creepy eyes and my background.
Cool. So
that gives a lot of flexibility in the design of the Mosaic. A lot of times we, if we're doing a real vector design or a real stark design or text, we tend to go right from the worksheet because the software doesn't do text very well. It does some aliasing. So if we wanted real crisp lines, we can go in and do that in the worksheet. Something like this. So we've got those real crisp lines. If we had that in the input, it probably would have matched, some of this dark, but then half of it might fall on the next tile, so that would be probably gray along the side. So it does a lot of aliasing when you do that in the input.
In the input, but if you had done that in the output, it would have retained it, right?
In the worksheet?
Well, in Tessera, in the right. I call it I guess that view. Yeah, if you made the straight line there, that would be retained, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Now, what if when you're in how are you panning?
Oh, I press Command.
Okay, and that's in the Mac. Do you know how I do it in the Windows?
It's probably Control.
Oh, Alt or Control. Oh, okay.
Or if you thought we had a pan tool here, but I guess not.
Okay, so you are using another key. So I'll find the key. So it must be the same story.
Yeah, sorry about that. Thought we had a tool. Note to self. Add that tool.
Okay. And now also if say you're in this mode and you're fine-tuning some individual tiles here, and you actually aren't using all of the colors, and you say, oh, that cobalt blue, I need to put some of that in there. How did you get this down?
So if I click, there was the box with the line through it.
That.
I click onto that.
Oh, that's it. Oh, okay.
Then it gives me the full palette. So I can.
Okay, good.
I can go and use that green and make the grass in its mouth green again.
Okay.
But as you can see, there's a little bit of a lag too.
Now, are you clicking individual boxes, or is there a way that you can sort of make a continual set of boxes? Just drag the pencil and continue to fill, or do you have to keep on clicking?
You can click and drag, but since we're dealing with actual images of tile, and it's a lot for the computer to compute,
Okay.
there's a little bit of a lag to it. That's another reason why we tend to use worksheets, because you're only dealing with RGB values, 1 pixel. These you're dealing with, I think it's about 700 pixels for each dot you do.
Okay.
So the worksheet editing tends to be a little faster.
Okay.
So you can do quick real time.
Oh, okay. So if you want to work like that, then do it on the worksheet.
Right.
Okay.
So if I were to do that here, it would end up doing that.
Okay. Okay.
But there's also the fill tool you can use in here. Fill all of one color. There's also...
And can you select area to do it in, or does it to the entire tile, the entire piece?
So there's the selection tool here, where you can select an area.
Okay.
But then you can't. You have to do it to the entire area with the paint tool.
Okay.
Which within Photoshop you can use the selection.
Can control that, right? Okay. Okay. So you really do go back and forth between Photoshop and...
Yeah, with a Mosaic that you want to do a lot of fine tuning. It's good to do that in the worksheet. Otherwise, if it was just a little bit of editing here and there, it could be done here.
Mm-hmm. It is a fun editor, though, because you get to, it's got the pictures of the glass texture and stuff, which sort of reminds you what you're doing. Exactly. Reminds you of the aesthetic, which is so that it's kind of fun to work. And the grout, you've
right.
So it's fun. It is a fun editor.
We really wanted to design it. We didn't want the computer to do the artwork. We wanted the artist to be able to have full control over the actual mosaic and try to make it as close to doing it with real tile as possible. So yeah. So once you've got it all done, you export the files. You could also even, if you want, with the folder we downloaded, we had these PNG files of the space. You could even open those up into Photoshop and lay in your design. If you want to go another step and to see how it looks in the space, and paste it in. And see how it looks. Obviously, I'm just doing it quickly, but
you can you make the distortion to? Oh, yeah. Oh, you can. Okay. Cool.
So this really gives you a sense of exactly how it will look once it's on the wall. Obviously, I'm just doing this quickly. Don't judge me.
I missed
on my
it. How did you split the image so that you could warp them separately? I missed. I was.
Oh, I just selected.
Okay.
With the marquee tool.
Okay. That's so cool. I knew that was the purpose of those images, but I was like, how do I do it? Yeah, that's very cool.
So that's my design right there. I don't think that will be a winning piece, but
that's pretty cool.
So also in that submission guidelines, there's some information around the space and the color palette and how the space looks. It's an industrial building. it's a pretty blank canvas, but then there's these big pops of color like this, and then they tend to use a lot of infographics. So there's these rocks, these meeting room areas in 3 portions of the space, and they have these facets to them. So it'd be good to really play off of the overall look and feel of the space, so that the mosaic design is incorporated into the architecture nicely. Cool. So once your mosaic is done, then all you have left to do is go into the submission page, which you can find in the submission document. There's a link. Submit the design now, or just go to designandgather.com/submit entry, and then give your design a title, a little description, about 600 characters. Not much, but just sell your work, and then your information, and then the mosaic output image, the worksheet, and the input image of your final design.
Cool.
Great. Well, are there any other questions?
Yeah, I have a couple. Let's see here. Now, I tried to put Tessera Grid on my poor old Macintosh, but it's on Snow Leopard. So the current version, the previous contest, it did run on the Mac and my old Macintosh, but this version doesn't seem to.
Yeah, I guess it works with the newer versions, the newer Mac versions.
Okay.
But you said you were working on a PC. Does that work?
Yeah. The Windows is working fine. I couldn't figure out how to pan in the zoomed up mode, but I think I'll use a controller or Alt key or something.
Okay.
Let's see here. Since this the mosaic goes across a corner, do you all have a special treatment to handle the corner? What does the corner look like? When the tiles are up there. What happens there?
We'll have a tile installer install it, and at the corner, there will be. We'll finish with a grout line, so the corner will be 2 tiles butting up on the corner. And actually, the vitreous glass tiles that we're using have a nice beveled edge to it, so it creates a very nice corner edge.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. And is it possible to visit this space?
Potentially. I think it's fairly open to the public if you want to visit the space. It's on the 6th floor of 21 Dry Dock in Boston, and they've got a receptionist up front. And it's an incubator space for startup companies, so there's a lot going on. There's often events there.
Okay, so I wouldn't need to make an appointment if I just showed up and told the receptionist what I was doing. Then
Right.
They would likely let me take a look.
They'll be fine with it. They like the fact that they're getting a mosaic and they're a free mosaic in their space. So
okay.
They'll accommodate.
Okay. Let's see. Well, this has been really helpful. I was a little bit mystified about working with the palettes, or what collection was what. So I think you answered those. And
well, if any other questions come up while you're working on it, feel free to email me. My email is paul, Paul, at artaic.com. And I'm happy to help out. We're trying to get as many solid submissions as possible. So whatever I can do to help you make your artwork the best that it can be,
Cool.
The best
Well,
option.
thank you. Well, so far I'm having a blast with the whole aesthetic. I just love mosaics, and so this is really fun.
Excellent.
Fun, and it's a fun tool. It's a fun process.
Yeah, it's taken us a long time to get the software to this point, and it's been a labor of love at this point.
Oh, I'm sure. Definitely, definitely.
Well, great. I look forward to seeing your work come through.
Okay, all right. And it will be soon, right?
Yeah. It's the submission deadline is Friday, but actually between you and me, we're going to extend it another week.
Oh, okay. Well, no complaints
But
there.
don't slack. Just
No. I'm
I
no,
didn't tell you that.
I'm in a groove, and now that I've got I feel enabled with the palettes. Yeah, I'm just gonna keep on going with it.
Great. Well, enjoy.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Absolutely.
And this was a very nice presentation too.
Thank you. And I actually recorded it. I hope you don't mind.
No, I don't mind at all.
And then we can use it for other people who aren't able to get on. We'll send it out to the registrants to be able to follow along.
Yeah, no, that's great.